Hello, everyone. I am Cristiane Gattaz. I am founder of Innovart Innovation Architecture Initiative here in Brazil, and also co-founder of Immunity Initiative in the field of healthcare. And I'm here very happy to have the opportunity to interview and talk a little with our great friend, Elin Oftedal from Norway. And she is from the university in Norway. And she has a lot to share with us of her last experience as a guest editor and from the Journal of Contemporary Administration. And she has a great experience to share with us of how it was to work on this experience of organizing this special issue, and with such a very important topic, and that is all about her field that she's been working for so many years about sustainability and resilience and the importance of responsible research and innovation. So, Elin, thank you very much for being here with us and having such a great time to talk and learn about your experience and bring some reflection for our audience here. And so, first of all, tell us a little of, in the special issue you developed, you bring the importance of the reinvention of business models, taking into consideration the global challenges such as climate crisis and pollution, poverty, energy security, and health. So many important issues that need to follow some sustainability drivers, and the importance of reinventing this business model to meet these challenges. And so from that perspective, I would like to know a little, how important is this topic around the world, worldwide, and how important it is also from your experience in Norway? How important these reflection and experiences it is in your field of research.
Thank you, Cristiane. It's nice to be here with you, and I will try to answer the questions as well as I can. It has been a great pleasure to work on this special issue, and I'm very happy to have the opportunity to do so. When we met, I was working at the University of Tromsø, now transferred to University of Stavanger. In my career, I also have done a little bit of transferring because I was studying innovation entrepreneurship, and then slowly, I wanted to see, success factors, what, the journey from the idea to market. But then I started being aware of, there are several challenges that we as a world society are up against. What if we could use all these, brilliant minds and creativity that's out there to actually help address some of those challenges? And so I became interested in, sustainable innovation, been working a lot with responsible innovation, responsible research and innovation, and resilience, and all of these words like that. And I was interested in how business society can help bring on the solution, because there's always a lot of critique towards the business society. And and on the other side, these kind of idealistic views on business, are they really working? Is it possible to actually to use these tools that we have in the business community to address our challenges? And so I think this special issue is a lot about that. I look at business models as a way to organize economic activity, and is it just words, or can we actually do something through, being innovative, creating new business, changing established business? And how do we do that? So I think, the papers that we have got, they address these issues of how, more or less, which I was very interested in. So I'm working now on the editorial, and it makes me very excited because I see that a lot of these things that I had this intention, the papers are kind of feeding into that.
Very nice. And tell us, how is your experience with the Journal of Contemporary Administration with RAC?
Yeah, so it is a new journal that I wasn't aware of earlier, and being in a completely different continent than RAC is normally operating on. So it's been interesting, and I think we have to tell people about this journal and what the journal is trying to do, and what is it, what's the voice of the journal, kind of, to inform people about its existence, and that it's a nice publication outlet, and it has, as far as I know, also a little bit of ambition to be more international. So I think this is something that we have to be active and educate, authors and readers about.
Yes, and I remember when we first met, the importance it was, the relationship with Norway and Brazil also. It was a great timing opportunity to establish this relationship through the journal in such a way that it could be helpful to researchers that wanted to bridge the experience between Norway and Brazil.
Yeah, and there are numerous programs in Norway that tries to establish connection between Norway and Brazil, because Brazil is seen as, a very interesting context and a country to get to know, and so they try to inspire us to do this, and here we are, and we have done it quite by ourselves, and I'm truly, grateful for that, and proud too, that because this will be one of the first international publications, I think. So I'm I'm very proud of this publication.
Yeah, that's wonderful. And from this experience, what do you think that could guide this new agenda, help guide and manage this agenda?
Agenda for sustainability, or for? For this special. Yeah. So I think for every actor has to see that it makes sense, that it actually works. So, and especially, of course, the business community needs to see that this actually it actually makes good business sense to think not only on the economic motives, but also about environmental and social aspects of a business. And it does, because more and more you see that investors are investing in companies that are not kind of cutting the corners when they are trying to grow, but are growing in an organic way that takes all these consideration into concern, and but also it's not only because in responsible research and innovation we've been talking a lot about who is responsible for responsibility. Is it the businesses? Is it the governments? Is it us? Who's responsible? And if nobody is responsible, it won't happen. So if we want to strengthen the agenda, we have to understand who should take responsibility for what, and so it also has to be the system, the policy, and on that level has to favor companies that actually trying to develop a sustainable model for doing their business. And we as consumers also have to take our responsibility. So you also asked me about a special kind of context in Norway that makes me want to address this. And we talked about this before. You asked me to repeat some principles that I had said before. I can't do that, but I think it's a special context in Norway because we are only, now we are 5 million people, but it's a huge country compared to the population, and it's a very strong and wild nature which is hard to tame, really. It's mountains, it's fjords, it's kind of the weather can be rough. It's beautiful, but it's here the nature is in charge. So we've always been aware that we are smaller than nature, and we have to play on, be a team player with nature, and we should. Nature will be there when we are not. So we have to have that in mind and always have the utmost respect for nature. And I think growing up like that, and you see that it's not happening. I mean, I'm not saying other countries, but it's also not happening on levels here in Norway and in other countries. And you see that immediately get engaged, I guess, and then you start thinking about how can we actually turn this around. So
yeah, from the articles, the papers that you received for the call for papers, there are clearly some suggestions and reflections and experiences about sustainability drivers. And how do you relate, the experiences that the papers are bringing with the context of how emerged or how the experiences are engaged with sustainability, as you're mentioning now, considering the history and nature of sustainability, not as a research topic by itself, or considering as a subject or a topic for performance metrics, such as, for example, ESG factors that are highly bringing a lot of importance nowadays. But how, from your experience, how does the papers that are brought can be localized within this context that you're bringing?
Yeah, so back to the question about, the experience of doing the special issue. So we had a certain challenges, a little bit because that a lot of people here in Europe did not know about the journal, but also the COVID-19 was coming right in this process. And so we had to take, things went slower. Reviewers were told me that they couldn't attend because COVID-19, and we actually had 2 rounds of collecting papers, and we are now in the last, in the end of assessing the last papers. So we have more than 4 papers, but yeah, the sustainable drivers. There are 2 papers focusing on sustainability drivers, and one is, in tourism, where I think it becomes very clear that to involve stakeholders and be aware of stakeholder engagement and to listen and develop model and your product according to stakeholder engagement is very important, because a lot of the drivers came from actors that are close to the company, but also of course from policymakers. So being always with any business and innovation processes, you need to be on board with your stakeholders. But I guess what's what this is saying more, that it's all kinds of stakeholders you need to pay attention to, not only, you know, the one that you're making money out of. Or so the other one on sustainability drivers were more focused on the institutional framework, which I think is very interesting. It is, you know, kind of the rules that guide our behavior. And they found out that, you know, norms where this kind of a very strong guide to behavior looked upon, you know, rules, regulation, norms, and knowledge. And it was the norms that were the strongest driver for sustainability. So all of the, you know, all of the agenda of the, you know, of the interest groups and you know, the positive kind of speech that these kind of causes get, that affects people, and they want to be a part of kind of this positive agenda. And so they are very much on board with when the company changes. They are very much on board and being part of this positive change, if that is the way that it has been presented in, you know, media and the public sector, you know, the opinion, I guess, the basic opinion. So I thought that was very interesting too, that the way that it's not about knowledge or about rules, but about, you know, what do we admire, what do we respect, you know, what do we look up to, and kind of the values that we have that is a driver for these kind of changes. So I thought that was very interesting. And then we also have some you know, some discussion, you know, the triple bottom line, whether or not that is a good concept, and how it is used, and what it, how the use is extended, and I thought that was a very you know, interesting contribution, because we kind of tend to use that uncritically. We take it for granted that it's the triple bottom line concept is kind of what we should do, and you know, it's good. And here this paper is kind of questioning this concept, and so I like the way that these papers are giving us, you know, some hows, and not only, you know, being, you know, normative, I guess. So, and then we have some paper that's coming in, and I have yet to go properly through them, and yeah.
That's wonderful. Also, from both of us went through the same master's program at UT, Master of Science and Technology Commercialization, and from there we could have the opportunity of engaging with a research network, and also some thinking of ways to rethink the business models and taking into account global challenges in citizenship, and also sustainability, and all these topics that we are talking about. And so from your opinion, how do you think that we went through the program, and also after we met in our program on the postdoc research as visiting professors at UT 2-3 years ago, how do you think that these hubs that we were introduced through these programs at IT Squared Institute, how do you think that these hubs collaborate for the formation and of the research network that could promote this agenda on sustainability?
I'm not sure if I understood the question. Are you asking how the research network can push the agenda of
bringing together both sides, you know, our experience with UT at IT Squared and the master's program, the visiting scholars program, with this agenda on sustainability, how they can match for research network and to improve these hows that you're mentioning?
I think one thing is very important, and that is that it's kind of a mixed network of academics, practitioner and policymakers, and that is crucial if we think about who's responsible for responsibility. So we academics can write about it. We can draw experience from the business world, and we can also give back our research and to policymakers, and have this ongoing talks with them all the time. And that what is challenging with sustainability is that how do you give value to the customer? Who are you giving value to? Because you might not give a higher value to the customer or the person who's using it, but you're giving a higher value perhaps to the society as whole. And how do you sell that? How do you promote that? And so if that is going to be possible, I think that it needs to be it needs to be based on network and cooperation, and ways of understanding each other and what kind of value it can give. Because the way it is now, we are not better than anyone. Like we are buying what's giving us value. All of us, we're not thinking about the external effects. So how to make a system that makes companies that can actually give value for the society, how to favor them. That's the challenge, and that's a big one.
That's great. And from the papers you received, what would be the new reflections or new experiences you would recommend based on, there were addressed some topics and some on sustainability drivers, the others that you mentioned about business models. But according to the overall reflections and experience that you received from these papers, what would you recommend as new reflections? What topics or what fields that you think it would be very interesting to also look on and look up, and that sometimes it wasn't brought up in this special issue?
Yeah, that's actually what I'm trying to assess now when I'm going through the articles, and some of them are not quite ready. So I'm trying to go through each article and draw a lesson from them, and so I'm not quite there yet. I just think that all in all, the papers are, this is one, special issue, and it's not giving any blueprints, but it's maybe one step, because it's dealing a lot about the how questions, and this is what we need to find a little bit about how can we do things, how can we actually go about in creating, creating the business models, creating, this kind of the context that makes the business model possible, working with, policymakers and, institution framework. So it's starting to, that's my goal at least, to not only say the kind of the fancy words, but find out how it can be possible. Because it's so easy to say that, yeah, we have a responsibility agenda, we have a sustainability agenda, and you write a very nice thing on your website, and it looks very nice. And then you have, greenwashing and all that, but that it happens for a reason, and it happens because people are not willing to pay for that value, that societal value that these models are giving. And so that's what we have to unwrap. How can we do it in a way that makes sense and is worthwhile for all, actors in the chain? So that's how far I've come, I guess.
That's so great. Well, we are so grateful to have the opportunity of bringing your reflections and experience, not only as a researcher in this field, in this sustainability agenda, but also from the culture and the history and nature and the context of Norway, bringing, issues and aspects of lifestyle also into these reflections and giving, researchers here in Brazil and worldwide to engage in this agenda internationally and bridging the concepts and the understanding of this issue between Norway and Brazil, and bringing, this discussion not only from a research perspective, but a lifestyle perspective also, like you're mentioning, because a lot of the how is important to understand the lifestyle behind everything. And so that institutions will be understanding better the reasons, and like you're mentioning, the value co-creation and the impact and performance metrics, what's really important to consider. But the context, the history of nature of the place is also very important into the discussion. And we are so grateful to have you from Norway, bringing these insights also within the call for papers. And we would also like to thank you for all the work, and bridging and bringing so many different visions and aspects to build up the call for papers with other researchers, from other places, and the whole team you could bring together and put up this effort. So that is wonderful. And we would like to know if there is anything else you would like to add, or if there is a message you would like to take forward so people would possibly understand better, how can people really use the context of the special issue in their everyday life in businesses and policy making. So is there any message you would like to leave for us?
I think that people should be aware of RAC and what RAC is trying to do, being more international. And it has been a very nice experience, very interesting. I think that we have a special issue in the end when all the papers are ready, that is a nice mix of papers and topics within, this paradigm. I think it has something for, many different readers. Some are more practical, some are more academic, so I think that some are more analytical, some are more descriptive, I guess, and I think that it's nice kind of a mix of papers that go well together and trying to answer our idea of what we had in the beginning with this special issue.
And we would love to talk more about the special issue after all the papers are out and everything is out there, and after some readers probably bringing some feedback. We would love to hear again from you probably in the next interview. And so thank you, and have a great evening there. I think we are 5 hours away from each other. You are 5 hours later than we are here in Brazil, and we hope you have a nice evening and a nice day.
Yes, the same to you. I wish I could come to Brazil right now.
Yes, well, you should. We will be more than happy to have you and host you here in Brazil.
Thank you.